I heard it between the 12th and 13th floors, right after the elevator doors sighed shut and before my coffee had even stopped steaming. Let her finish the training module, Cassandra Vale said into her phone, calm as glass. Then terminate her. Quietly. I stood 3 feet behind her, holding 2 paper cups, one black coffee for me, one oat milk latte for the woman who had just reduced my career to a calendar reminder. She didn't know I was there. Or maybe she did, and simply didn't think I mattered enough to lower her voice. Beside me, Ryan from infrastructure kept staring at the glowing floor numbers like they might save him. Nobody spoke. The elevator hummed. My fingers tightened around the cardboard tray. But I did not spill a drop. Before I tell you how that one elevator sentence pushed me to build something they could never steal, please hit the like button, because this story is only beginning. I'm curious too, where are you watching from? And what's the temperature there? I'm glad to meet you. But first, you need to know what kind of woman she was. Cassandra was the new COO of Northstar Analytics. Polished, expensive, and cold enough to make the air conditioning feel sentimental. She had arrived 6 weeks ago, calling herself a culture optimizer. Apparently, I was the culture she planned to optimize out. When the elevator opened, she stepped out first, heels striking marble like a countdown. I followed 2 seconds later, smiling, because in that moment, I understood one thing clearly: they wanted my work, not me. And Emily Harper was done being useful and disposable. I want to note that this story is fictional, created with the help of AI to make it more engaging and meaningful. Most importantly, it was written to share deeper lessons about courage, dignity, and self-worth. I hope you'll feel it with me by the time I reached my desk. The smile was gone, not because I was scared, because fear wastes processing power. I set Cassandra's oat milk latte beside my keyboard, like a tiny insult in a paper cup, and opened the project dashboard. Northstar Analytics called it the Learning Compliance Module, a harmless little name for the piece of software currently holding together half their enterprise platform. To leadership, it was a training tool. To me, it was the spine. It connected employee certification records, client audit logs, automated renewals, and the predictive risk engine they had been bragging about to investors for 3 straight quarters. Without it, the whole system would not explode dramatically. It would do something worse. It would rot quietly from the inside. I scrolled through months of my own work. Commits at 2:13 a.m. Comments written while eating cold noodles over my laptop. Pull requests approved by managers who did not understand the code but loved saying great velocity in meetings. Every function had my fingerprints on it. Every optimization, every failsafe, every ugly little workaround that kept their outdated backend from coughing blood belonged to me, and they were going to take it. Smile. And erase my badge. Fine. I closed the company chat. I muted calendar notifications. Then, I created a private repository under a name so boring nobody would ever search for it: Archive Training Notes. I encrypted the backup, copied only what I legally owned, and started separating my architecture from their mess piece by piece. But I did not simply duplicate the module, I rebuilt it. The data layer came first. Cleaner, faster, stripped of Northstar's bloated dependencies. Then I rewrote the query engine until it moved like a blade through silk. What had taken their system 12 seconds now took less than 2. Error handling became predictive. Reporting became automatic. The module stopped being a training tool and became something much sharper. By midnight, I was no longer protecting my work. I was building my exit. And somewhere inside Northstar's original codebase, I left one harmless little comment. Emily was here. The next morning, Cassandra scheduled an alignment sync at 8:15, which was corporate language for walking into a room and pretending a decision had not already been made. I arrived 3 minutes early with my laptop, my notebook, and the calm expression of a woman who had already moved the valuable furniture out before the fire started. Cassandra sat at the head of the conference table in a cream blazer that probably cost more than my rent. Ryan was there too. along with 2 engineers from Platform and a product manager named Melissa, who looked like she had been dragged into the meeting before caffeine had entered her bloodstream. "Emily," Cassandra said, smiling without warmth, "walk us through the current state of the module." Current state, not your work, not your architecture, not the system you saved, just the module. So I showed her exactly what she wanted to see: a clean dashboard, a smooth login flow, a training completion report that loaded fast enough to impress people who only understood speed when it came with a spinning icon. I explained the API connections, the user permissions, the audit trail, and the automated certification tracker. But I did not show her the rebuilt engine. I did not show her the private architecture. I did not show her the version that could make Northstar's platform look like a horse-drawn carriage trying to race a jet. Instead, I demonstrated the safe version, the one that technically worked, the one polished enough to pass a shallow review and hollow enough to punish arrogance. Cassandra leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "That's everything," I smiled. "That's the deliverable you requested." Ryan glanced at me for half a second, like he heard something under the sentence but could not prove it. Cassandra nodded slowly. "Satisfied? Good. Then Platform can take ownership from here." There it was, the handoff before the disposal. Melissa typed something into her notes. Ryan stared at the table. Cassandra closed her folder like she had just acquired me in pieces. "Excellent work. Emily," she said, "we'll make sure this gets the visibility it deserves." I almost laughed, because what she had taken was not gold. It was a locked door disguised as a gift. That evening, Northstar went quiet in the way companies do when they think they have won. No messages from Cassandra, no follow-up questions from Platform, no panicked requests from product, just silence wrapped in confidence. The most dangerous fabric in any office. I went home, changed out of my blazer, made tea I forgot to drink, and opened the private environment on my personal machine. The project name on the folder was harmless enough to bore a spy to sleep wellness survey tools. Inside it lived the real thing. I called it Meridian 9, not because it sounded dramatic, although it did, but because it was designed to split a broken system cleanly down the middle and show exactly where the rot began. Meridian 9 was faster than Northstar's module, smarter than their reporting layer, and independent of every ugly shortcut they had forced me to build around for 2 years. I tested the predictive diagnostics first. Perfect. Then the migration wrapper. Clean. Then the automated failure mapping. The part Northstar had refused to fund because Cassandra said, "We do not need insurance for problems strong teams do not create." I laughed so hard I nearly spilled tea across the keyboard. At 11:38 p.m., my phone buzzed. It was Daniel Mercer, my former director, the only executive at Northstar who had ever defended engineering when leadership treated us like a vending machine for miracles. He had been pushed out 4 months earlier under the polite corporate lie of strategic restructuring. His message was short. "Emily, are you still building impossible things?" I stared at it for a long moment. Then I attached a stripped-down demo of Meridian 9 and typed back, "Better. I'm building what they're too arrogant to imagine." His reply came in less than a minute. "Then we should talk, by midnight." We were on an encrypted call, both of us tired, furious, and suddenly awake in the same direction. Daniel understood before I finished explaining. "This is not a backup plan," he said. "No," I answered. It was the beginning of a company. By Tuesday morning, Northstar deployed the version I had handed over into staging. Ryan posted the update in the engineering channel at 9:07. Training module live in Sandbox. Initial tests look good. Someone replied with a rocket emoji. Someone else dropped a trophy. Cassandra reacted with a clean little green checkmark, as if leadership had personally written the code with one perfectly manicured finger. I watched the logs from my desk while pretending to answer email. For the first few minutes, everything behaved beautifully. The dashboard loaded, training records synced, certification reports generated, the audit trail updated without complaint. Anyone glancing at the surface would have seen success wrapped in a progress bar. Then the first hairline crack appeared. A background job repeated itself once, then twice, then 12 times. Not enough to crash anything, not enough to trigger alarms that would make executives sweat, just enough to make the system work harder than it needed to. A little extra memory here, a little more latency there. A database call that circled back through the wrong validation layer, like a car missing its exit and pretending it meant to. Northstar's old backend absorbed it badly. By lunch, the API response time had climbed by fractions of a second. By 2 o'clock, the memory usage graph had developed a nervous little slope. By 3:30, the reporting queue was clearing slower than usual, but still fast enough for everyone to blame environment noise. That was the beauty of it. Nothing looked broken yet. It looked inconvenient. It looked temporary. It looked like the kind of thing people postpone until it becomes expensive. At 4:12, Cassandra sent a company-wide email. Proud to announce successful deployment of our new training intelligence module, a major step towards scalable operational excellence. I read it twice. Training intelligence. Operational excellence. My half-empty trap wearing her lipstick. Across the room. Ryan frowned at his monitor and refreshed the dashboard. I sipped cold coffee and opened Meridian 9 in another window. Northstar was celebrating a foundation that had already started sinking. That night, Daniel sent one address and no explanation. It led me to a private conference suite on the 31st floor of a glass tower downtown. The kind of place where the carpets were silent and the coffee tasted like money, making decisions behind closed doors. Inside, 3 people were waiting. Daniel sat near the window, calm as ever. Beside him were 2 executives from Brightlayer Systems, Northstar's most irritating competitor, and the company Cassandra loved dismissing as technically loud, but strategically confused. There was also a lawyer who looked like she could smell weak contracts through concrete. "Show them," Daniel said. So I did. I opened Meridian 9 on a sandbox environment and ran the demo without a speech. Because good code does not need theater, it just performs. The migration wrapper connected in seconds. The diagnostic layer scanned the test architecture and mapped pressure points before anyone finished reading the first report. The latency index dropped so sharply, one of the executives leaned forward like the screen had insulted him personally. "Run that again," he said. I ran it again. Same result. The lawyer stopped taking notes. The product lead whispered, "This would cut our onboarding time in half." "No," I said, "more than half. If your team stops pretending manual patches are a personality trait." Daniel covered his smile with his hand. They asked what I wanted. I gave them a 6-month exclusive license, enterprise deployment rights, and one clause written like a blade: no current or former Northstar Analytics employee, contractor, executive, or affiliate could access, resell, reverse engineer, reference, or claim ownership of Meridian 9. The lawyer read it twice. Then she smiled. By the time I left, Brightlayer had wired the first payment. Northstar thought they had taken my module. What I had sold was the future they would never be allowed to touch. Do you agree with what I did protecting my own work, building a better version in secret, and refusing to let them steal my future? If yes, please hit the like button to support me. 3 days later, Northstar Analytics began falling apart in public. Not all at once. Companies like that never collapse with dignity. They stutter, they deny, they send cheerful internal updates while the ceiling is already on fire. At 8:41 a.m., Ryan messaged the engineering channel, seeing unusual load on training services, investigating. At 9:16, the first customer portal froze during a compliance report export. By October 3rd, certification records stopped syncing with client dashboards. By November 27th, the risk engine began returning duplicate alerts, then missing alerts, then alerts so meaningless they might as well have been fortune cookies with error codes. By noon, the internal dashboards were red, not orange, not monitoring, red. CPU usage climbed like it had a death wish. Background jobs piled up in queues. API calls timed out across 3 major clients. Support tickets flooded in so fast, the help desk started labeling them by category instead of reading them. Meanwhile, Cassandra sent a message titled, "Temporary Performance Irregularities." I almost admired the audacity. Temporary irregularities. That was what she called a platform coughing up pieces of its own skeleton. I was sitting in a cafe 2 blocks from Northstar's headquarters. Laptop open, oat milk latte cooling beside my hand. I watched the disaster spread across tech forums, LinkedIn posts, and one brutally funny thread titled Northstar Analytics, or How to Turn Compliant Software into a Haunted House. Someone posted a screenshot of a frozen client portal. Someone else wrote, "Did they deploy this with a toaster?" By 2:30, BrightLayer's sales team had already begun receiving inbound calls from companies looking for alternatives. That was the part Cassandra would never understand. Systems remember who built them. Northstar had stacked its shiny investor promises on top of my late nights. My fixes, my architecture, my invisible labor. Then they decided I was disposable the moment the work became useful. Now the machine was answering for me, and for the first time all week, I let myself enjoy the silence between their alarms. At 6:18 that evening, my phone rang from a number I didn't recognize. I almost ignored it. Then a voice whispered, "Emily, it's Nora Kim, Cassandra's executive assistant, the woman who booked rooms no one thanked her for. Fixed calendars, executives broke, and once slipped me a protein bar before a 12-hour deployment because she noticed I hadn't eaten." "What's wrong?" I asked. She breathed like she was hiding in a stairwell. "Cassandra is looking for your private files." My hand went still above the keyboard. "She asked IT to search old backups, personal drive connections, anything tied to your machine. Then she told them to wipe your company workspace after legal approves it." Of course she did. Firing me was not enough. Taking my work was not enough. Cassandra wanted me erased so completely that 6 months from now, some consultant could say the module had always been part of Northstar's innovation roadmap. "There's more," Nora said. "She met someone from Blackstone Arc this afternoon. Private suite. No calendar invite." I saw the folder name on her screen. What folder? Meridian Commercial Notes. The room seemed to narrow. Blackstone Arc was a third-party development firm with a reputation for buying half-built products, repainting them, and selling them back to desperate enterprises as revolutionary platforms. If Cassandra was talking to them, she wasn't just covering herself, she was trying to sell my work. "Send me whatever you saw," I said. 5 minutes later, Nora forwarded 3 screenshots. One showed a document titled M9 Integration Roadmap. Another showed copied architecture diagrams with my labels poorly renamed. The third made my stomach go cold. A development history Cassandra had fabricated, complete with fake milestones, edited author names, and enough technical jargon to fool a board member who thought Python was just a snake. I traced the metadata, then the file paths, then the copied fragments. There it was. My structure, my comments, my error logic, my naming patterns dressed in stolen clothes. Cassandra had not built a product. She had built a lie around mine. I did not sleep that night. I documented. There is a difference. Panic runs in circles. Documentation builds a staircase and hands your enemy the choice to fall down it in public. First, I pulled the commit history from my private repository. Every timestamp clean, every branch labeled, every architectural decision recorded before Cassandra had even learned how to pronounce Meridian. Then I exported Northstar's old Jenkins logs. The ones their IT team had forgotten existed because deleting evidence requires competence, and Cassandra had only ever borrowed hers from people beneath her. Next came the comparison report. Line by line, structure by structure, I matched her fake M9 roadmap against my real Meridian 9 build. 84% overlap, same error handling sequence, same diagnostic mapping logic, same strange little variable name I had created at 1:40 in the morning, because exhaustion makes poets out of engineers. She had even copied one typo. That almost offended me more than the theft. Nora sent one final file just before midnight, a security clip from a shared device station. Cassandra, alone, transferring folders onto an external drive while the office lights dimmed around her. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just theft in business heels. I packaged everything into one folder: commit records, system logs, metadata trails, side-by-side code comparisons, Cassandra's fabricated development timeline, the security clip, the screenshots from Nora, the Bright Layer licensing agreement proving Meridian 9 already belonged to me and my new company. Then I opened an email. To Northstar's board, CC Daniel Mercer, BCC 2 technology reporters, and one industry analyst who had once described Northstar's leadership as aggressively allergic to accountability. Subject evidence of attempted IP theft by Cassandra Vale. I did not write a speech. I did not beg to be believed. I attached the evidence and typed one sentence. You may want to stop her before your company becomes the evidence. I hit send. 27 minutes later, Cassandra called. I let it ring. By morning, she was on administrative leave. By noon, the story was online. By market close, Northstar had lost more than customers. It had lost the right to pretend. The next morning, I returned to Northstar through the front entrance, not with a badge, with counsel. Daniel walked beside me in a navy suit and the calm expression of a man who had waited months to watch bad leadership meet consequences. The receptionist saw me and froze. Security looked at my visitor pass, then at my face, then decided today was not the day to become part of the story. Conference room A was already full. Board members, legal, finance. Two exhausted executives who had probably spent the night learning what infrastructure actually meant. Cassandra sat near the far end of the table, pale but still trying to look expensive. I placed a folder in the center of the table. Northstar has two problems, I said. Your platform is failing, and your COO tried to steal the only technology capable of saving it. No one interrupted. That was new. The board chair, a silver-haired woman named Evelyn Ross, opened the folder and read for less than a minute before looking up. What are your terms? Ms. Harper, I appreciated that. Not apology, not performance, terms. I set them out clearly. Cassandra resigns immediately, with no advisory contract, no bonus package, no rewritten farewell email about pursuing new opportunities. Northstar issues a public correction naming me as the sole creator of Meridian 9. Then, and only then, they may license access from Harper Meridian Technologies for 5 years. Cassandra stood. This is extortion. No, I said. This is pricing. Evelyn turned to legal. Legal nodded. 10 minutes later, Cassandra was asked to leave the room. 30 minutes later, Northstar signed. When I stepped back outside, sunlight hit the glass doors behind me, so hard the whole building looked briefly transparent. They had planned to fire me after I finished the module, so I finished something better, a company they could not survive without. Through this story, I learned 5 lessons. First, never let anyone make you feel disposable when you know what you bring to the table. Second, always protect your effort, your ideas, and your proof. Third, betrayal can become a turning point if I stay calm and think clearly. Fourth, real talent does not need to beg for recognition. It creates its own door. Fifth, dignity is not revenge, but refusing to let injustice define the ending. And you? Did you take away a lesson of your own? Share it in the comments so I can read it. If this story touched you, please like, subscribe, and share it, because your support may help someone else remember their worth.
Welcome to Boardroom Revenge Stories, a channel focused on workplace conflict, corporate betrayal, power struggles, and quiet justice. Our stories follow a structured workflow to deliver a consistent, immersive experience. We start by analyzing real discussions on Reddit, Facebook, Quora, and blogs. Next, we craft original scripts using AI tools like ChatGPT. We then use 11 Labs to transform text into high-quality voice and edit everything in CapCut for a smooth, cinematic finish. Thumbnails are designed with Canva, and every video is carefully reviewed before release. These stories go beyond entertainment, revealing how power truly works and how justice quietly unfolds.